Today we're going to start learning target 3, which says that I can graph a line in point slope form, slope intercept form, and standard form. Today though we're only going to talk about slope intercept and point slope forms. We're going to say standard form for another day. So in slope intercept form and point slope form, we have the slope in both situations. So we know where to go. We just need a starting place. In slope intercept form, remember, it's y or f of x equals mx plus b. M is the slope, that tells us where to go. And b, this is the y-intercept. Because if you put 0 in for x, that goes away, and you're left with this as the y-intercept. So that's the y-intercept. That is your starting place. So in this case, my y-intercept is -5, so I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the y-axis because it's the y-intercept. So I'm not going to do this -5 over here because that would be on the x-axis, and that would be wrong. The y-intercept happens on the y-axis. And then from that place, I'm going to go where my slope tells me to go, which in this case is 3 or 3 over 1. So I'm going to go up 3 over 1. So up 3 over 1. I'm going to make a new dot. So I could keep going up 3 over 1, make a new dot. Up 3 over 1, make a new dot. I could keep doing that as much as I want. Technically, though, I only need 2 dots to make my line. So if we look at this one down here, this would be my y-intercept, or my starting place, on the y-axis, because it's the y-intercept. I'm going to put my starting place right there. And then my slope is 1 over 4. So I'm going to go up 1 over 4, put a dot, I have my 2 dots, so I can make my line. That's how you graph in slope-intercept form. That's something that you learned last year, so that should not be anything new. Point slope form is new. Point slope form is y minus a y-coordinate on your line equals 1/2, that's your slope, which in this case is 1/2. We'll just say slope in general for now. And then x minus an x-coordinate on your line. So your starting place is actually going to be the x-coordinate and then the y-coordinate that it gives you. Now, the trick here, or like the thing that confuses people the most, is that this minus sign here and this minus sign here is actually part of the equation. It has to do with how the graph shifts. So we are going to not include this with our coordinates. So the y-coordinate is only this right here. It's only the 6. It's not the minus. And the x-coordinate that we're going to start at is only this right here. So it's, now, this is supposed to be a minus, right? Because in the general form, it's x minus the x-coordinate. So that's really x minus a -3. So that would be the x-coordinates that we would start at. So our starting place is going to be -3, 6. Basically, because the minus sign is included in the equation, the starting coordinates are just the opposite of what it looks like in the equation. So because this says y minus 6, the minus isn't part of it, it's just a +6 for your y-coordinate. And because this says x plus 3, that's really x minus a -3. So because it looks like a plus 3 here, it actually ends up being a -3 in your coordinates. So this is your starting place. So here our starting place is -3 up 6. That's the starting place. And then from there we go where our slope tells us to go, which is right there. That's our m. So from this point we go up 1 over 2, and then we can draw our line. So let's try that again. Our starting place The x-coordinate is the opposite of this right here because this minus is actually just part of the form. The x-coordinate is just that. So it's a positive 4. So it looks like a minus 4, actually a positive 4. It's always the opposite of what it looks like because that minus is included as part of the equation, not part of this number. Over here it's an x plus 2, so that's really, or y plus 2, so that's really like y minus a negative 2. So your y-coordinate is going to be a negative 2. So we have our x-coordinate, we have our y-coordinate, and that's where we're going to start. Another thing that can be confusing is that in the equation, the y-coordinate comes first, but in ordered pair, the y-coordinate comes second. So just be careful that this one comes over here, and that one goes over there. So our ordered pair that we're going to start is 4, negative 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2. That point right there is our starting point, and from that point, we're going to go where our slope tells us to go, which is 1 over 2, so up 1 over 2, and we have our line. And that's how you graph in slope-intercept form, which is a review from last year, and point-slope form, which is new this year. And all you do is you just take your starting point by taking the opposite of the x-coordinate here and the opposite of the y-coordinate here to get your starting place, and then you go where the slope tells you to go. Now let's practice.